Hi, eighth grade. Welcome back. We're going to be reading the novel Farewell to Manzanar by Jean Wakasuki Houston and James D. Houston. And today we'll be reading chapter 10. It is a short chapter again, and we only have 2 questions. So let's take a look at what those 2 questions are. I also want to share with you the picture that is on your handout. And this shows the Manzanar camp. This is very similar to the picture that I was hoping to actually have behind me, but I can't get it to format into the screen behind me. But you can see the mountains behind them, and what the shacks, you can see that they're really not finished, and those are housing multiple families inside those shacks. So chapter 10, there are 2 questions. One asks you to briefly explain the reservoir shack incident. That does mean more than 1 sentence though. Please make sure that you're including lots of details, but I don't want a full page. Briefly would be 3 to 5 sentences, okay? Question 2, think about the American justice system's belief that people are innocent until proven guilty, and explain how the treatment of the reservoir crewmen is unjust. Okay, so I think we'll be able to figure that one out, but make sure that you're able to explain it. All right, if you have your book, I would encourage you to please open up to chapter 10, which is on page 78, and you may read along with me, or you can do it on your own if you choose. All right, so chapter 10 is called The Reservoir Shack and Aside. So this is kind of a side part of the story. My brother-in-law Kaz was foreman of a reservoir maintenance detail, the only crew permitted to work or to leave the camp limits the night of the riot. At the back gate, they were issued 4 pickaxe handles to protect themselves in case the Innu hunters found them cooperating at a time like this. So remember, that would actually be the Japanese men, the Innu hunters. They're hunting for traders that would be helping others. So because they're allowed to leave and work in the reservoir, they may be considered traders to the Japanese. So they're given pickaxes because of it. They drove out there, checked the chlorine shed, toured the perimeter, then trooped into a little shack that had been set up with 4 cots. It was like fireman's watch. Each crew spent 24 hours on standby, making periodic checks, clearing the debris, doing whatever was necessary to keep the water moving into camp. The shack had 1 window, but when they turned off the light and stretched out on the cots, you could barely see its outline. The night was so dark. Kaz lay there trying to see the line between the dark inside and the dark outside the shack, and he thought he saw something pass across the window, but called it his imagination and shut his eyes. A moment later, the door crashed open. A flashlight was blinding him. He felt the sharp jut of a gun sight against his cheek. Someone yelled, "All right, you Japs, up against the wall." He jumped out of bed and saw 4 MPs with Tommy guns, a sergeant, and 3 privates. While Kaz backed to the wall to join his crew, that gun barrel stayed right against his cheek. The MPs kept yelling, "Come on, Japs, move it, move it." Kaz finally found his voice. "Hey, what's the matter with you guys?" The sergeant in charge was wild-eyed, scanning the room as he fanned the air with his Tommy gun. Sure, he had uncovered a nest of saboteurs. He was about the same age as Kaz, early 20s. "What the hell are you doing here?" he yelled. "We're the reservoir crew. Nobody's supposed to leave the camp. You know that. Somebody's got to be out here all the time. Regulations." The sergeant spotted the axe handles on the floor by each cot and kicked one with his boot. "What the hell are those for?" Then, "The rioters. If they found us here, they'd throw us all in the reservoir." The sergeant squinted suspiciously. Kaz said, "Go on back to the gate and check it out." The sergeant kicked all the axe handles into a pile and scooped them up. "I'm taking these with me. Don't nobody move till I get back." He left. The reservoir crew didn't blink until he returned with the clearance half an hour later. They stood there watching the three jittery privates who had backed up against the opposite wall. As fearful as these four Japs they had to guard as Kaz and his men were of the unsteady weapons they knew could go off any moment. All right, so very short chapter. In that we get a little bit of information on what's going on outside of camp at the time that the riots from the last chapter. And these four were trusted men, were allowed to go work at the reservoir, but the soldiers that come in don't realize that and obviously jump to conclusions and think that they are traitors. So these poor men are feared as being traitors on both sides. Make sure you're able to explain that clearly in your answer. Make sure you have complete sentences. And I did look back and notice that we are going to submit these three chapters together. So 8, 9, and 10. Please make sure that you have those complete answers, complete sentences, text details, and explanation. Start with a capital letter. Make sure you have periods, whether you're typing or handwriting them. Have a great day.